I feel like the biggest criticism of tattooing in Melbourne is that everyone says that it's like oversaturated, like there's just too many tattooers.
Back then, there was probably 6 shops. If you opened up a shop anywhere near any of those guys, you might get a visit.
We got a loan from this guy who we thought was a possum catcher, and he ended up being an undercover policeman.
When you're making a choice about a tat, you're getting something that makes you feel connected to something.
There are a lot of people in the hardcore scene who have traditional tattoos.
When you're on holiday, the rules don't apply. What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's that kind of mentality.
Everyone that we've sort of spoken to so far is talking about the glory days of Melbourne tattooing, almost as if it's sort of behind us in a way.
Melbourne has a reputation that spans the world over of being a mecca for food, music, art, and tattooing. It's always had a way of drawing dirty little moths in from far and wide thanks to how brightly its flame burns. And I would know. I was one of those dirty little moths who moved here in 2018 because the tattoo scene in Melbourne looked to be on another level compared to everywhere else. There's something I was so enthralled by, I just wanted to be as immersed in it as possible. So here we are in 2025, making a documentary about it. To get an idea of how it all got to this point, I'm lucky enough to chat via Zoom with London-based tattoo historian, lecturer, author, and podcaster, Dr. Matt Lotter.
In your professional opinion, what has contributed to Melbourne being so prolific on the world stage?
It's this really interesting cosmopolitan city, right, Melbourne? It's this arts, culture capital, but it's also, like a lot of Australia, it's just fucking weird. Like, it's edgy and strange, and even in a kind of globalized mega culture that we exist in now, like, Australia does feel like a different universe sometimes. In Melbourne, it has everything you need for a good tattoo scene. All tattooing reflects its local culture, by which I mean, you know, local in time as well as geography. Australian tattooing does seem to have a kind of boldness and a clarity to it that is not quite American and not quite British. It's got a kind of strangeness about it that I think, again, only happens when you're baking in the Australian sun.
John Entwistle, Johnny Dollar, why is he considered to be an icon of Melbourne tattooing?
In the 60s, right, and I've written about this a lot, Tattoo Club of America is all the best tattooers in the world. There's 2 Australians in the Tattoo Club of America, one of whom is Cindy Ray, and one of whom is John Entwistle. And I think I'm right in saying he joined the club, Tattoo Club of America, like almost before he started tattooing. Very early in his career, he was kind of mixing it up with the big boys. Those connections that were forged in that period of the mid-60s, at a time when tattooing was on its arse, and a group of tattooers around the world who just wanted it and needed it, those connections like spawned what would come next. He's one of the most important advocate, or one of those 2 most important advocates for tattooing in the whole country. In that select group of people that's like never more than a couple of hundred people, like he was able to shout to the rest of the world that Australian tattooing was really fucking good. God bless John Entwistle, really, because he's such an important part of that global story. Tattooing was gonna be banned everywhere, basically. It had been banned in New York, it was almost banned in the UK, and it's only because of people like Johnny who stood up and said, no, don't you take this away from us, that we all get to do this today, right?
John, along with countless other titans of Melbourne tattooing, shaped Australia's tattoo culture, and their influence can still be felt today. However, that scene that they all spent decades building looks very different now. In order to get a sense of what it looks like for someone at the starting line of their career, I met up with Corey, a brand new tattoo apprentice who is finding out firsthand the difficulties of trying to make a name for yourself in an oversaturated market.
What made you want to apprentice at 35?
Well, I'd always been into tattoos since I was probably like 16 or so.
Yeah.
I guess I probably grew up in the generation of Miami Ink.
That brought tattooing sort of out of the shadows and into the mainstream a little bit.
I tried for an apprenticeship when I was sort of like 18, 19, and I'd gone around to all the local shops, but then that just never really worked out. Like a lot of people just said, yeah, your drawings are nice, but see you later. And I just got like a regular job. Started working in factories, decent wage, can support a family, saved up for a home. Got quite comfortable doing that and just became complacent with my life, basically. I ended up getting fired for applying for a new job somewhere else. It was around Christmas time, being like in your 30s and unemployed, when you've got a wife and kids and that sort of thing. I was feeling pretty bummed out. And at that point I sort of thought, fuck it, I'm gonna put a new portfolio together and start drawing again. And my wife has been like super supportive. If I can work part-time, find an apprenticeship, then we can sort of make it happen.
And like wanting to show that example to your kids.
I'm going to be telling them to chase their dreams and do what they want to do with their life. Why are they going to listen to my advice if I'm not doing what I want to do?
How hard was it, like finding an apprenticeship?
I probably went to at least 20 shops this time round.
This time around?
Yeah. But you know, now that I'm a bit older, I've sort of got the mindset that I have to make it work.
Yeah.
For reference, at the time of filming this, the council area known as the City of Melbourne, which consists of 14 suburbs, reported that there were 44 legally operating tattoo studios in a 36 square kilometre radius. That is 1.18 shops per square kilometre. Now, that is just a small slice of the pie when it comes to the total number operating both legally and illegally across the entire city. For context, in that same 36 square kilometre radius, there are only 14 McDonald's restaurants, meaning that there is more than triple the number of tattoo shops here than McDonald's locations in the same small area. From talking to someone who's just starting out, I also wanted to talk to people who've weathered the ups and downs of tattooing over the course of multiple decades. Matt Mooney, a second-generation tattooer, and living legend Trevor McStay have seen firsthand how tattooing in this city has changed over time, all whilst being in the thick of it themselves.
What was tattooing in Melbourne like in '81?
Small, compact, you know, there was probably 6 shops in Melbourne at the time. The shops were way different. All the hand-drawn flash on the walls. The smell when you walked in, you know, the green soap or whatever, you know.
Definitely cigarettes.
Dettol, whatever the smell.
I remember getting Dad's old shop across the road, and when I had to paint the roof, it was like yellow on that. Just above the tattoo, it was just like 5-6 coats of paint just in one spot.
Back then, you'd turn up early in the morning and just get in line. And you just sit there and you just shuffle up.
I reckon that was probably a first part of the interest of getting into tattooing. 15 people waiting to see if they'll get tattooed that, because some people wouldn't even be able to get tattooed. As a kid, you're like, oh, this must be cool, like if people like this.
Going back to the 80s and even earlier, everyone had their tattooer. You stuck to that tattoo shop, you know, like where I was from down the country, especially on a Saturday, you'd get on the train to come to Melbourne. We'd all go to Williamstown. Different areas had their tattoo shops.
That sort of loyalty is like when people get their hair cut now, they just go to the same person.
The other thing is everyone had respect on staying out of each other's area as well.
Right.
If you opened up a shop anywhere near any of those guys, you might get a visit.
Right, yeah.
So there was that respect, you know.
Do you feel like the loyalty thing's definitely changed now that there's just so many shops? Yeah.
There's no loyalty anymore.
It's quite saturated. From a customer's perspective, they'd be spoiled for choice now when it comes to getting a tattoo.
They are spoiled for choice, but I feel like it's pretty hard to see everyone's portfolio and know that you are getting the best tattoo for what you're going for.
I don't think people care about quality. It's now about, I just need to be tattooed to look like everyone else. In the early 90s, it was very competitive.
So competitive.
But we had this healthy competitiveness with each other.
Sort of like a healthy rivalry.
Yeah.
Well, it keeps you on your toes. It's always like some trick happening. You would be like, fuck, where's my trick? We had such a saturation of good people doing that. But compared to today, people that inspire you to be like, I need to push myself, that number's really coming down.
What was Melbourne's reputation internationally?
It was good. In the early days, I went to America. I was lucky enough to go and get tattooed off Ed Hardy and Bob Roberts and Jack Rudy and you know, all those guys, when they spoke about Australia overseas, they always spoke about Melbourne.
Right.
More so than Sydney or anywhere else. That's for sure.
Soon after I turned 18, I started learning more about the style of tattoos that I personally enjoyed and where I could get them. One shop's name had become synonymous with traditional tattoos in Melbourne. Whenever anyone was visiting, they would be asked, "Have you been to Chapel?" After opening in 1994, Chapel Tattoo, owned by Jane Laver and Andrew McLeod, became known the world over, and for good reason. This wouldn't be a documentary about Melbourne tattooing without Jane and Andrew, and thankfully, they were kind enough to spend some time with me.
When did you start tattooing? Because you started tattooing in New York.
Yeah, in 94. And I started the same year as Andrew virtually, but he was here and I was there. But we knew each other before.
Yeah, through
tattooing.
music and stuff.
And the night I got my first tattoos was when I went back to Andrew's house and we got really stoned. And but yeah, that was when I was 19. So a long time ago, 35 years or something like that.
And you apprenticed in this building?
Yeah, in this building. Yeah.
But before it was Chapel Tattoo? It was called something else?
Chapel Graphics. Pretty much, you know, chucked in at the deep end sort of thing. And I tattooed my friends on like Thursday nights, and that's when I could get a bit loose and try some experiment stuff.
When did you guys buy Chapel?
97. May 97. Well, actually, you forced me to take it.
I didn't force you. My girlfriend at the time was like, "Hey, well, you guys should just like buy the business off him," and he wanted fuck all for it. So we bought ourselves a job basically.
We got a loan from this guy who we thought was a possum catcher and landscape gardener, and he ended up being an undercover policeman.
Yeah.
But he gave us $1,000 and we renovated on that $1,000.
Wow.
We did it all ourselves, you know, like laid the floor, fucking painted, did it.
You guys just thought like the possum industry was booming at the time. You're like, this dude's fucking loaded.
He just loved our shop.
I feel like back in the day there was all these sort of unwritten rules when it came to opening shops that aren't really adhered to now.
I remember when we first opened up, there was a couple of pretty heavily tattooed dudes came around and they were like sniffing around and wanted to know what was going on in this place. Yeah, definitely you wouldn't open up a shop within 5Ks or whatever, you know, you just wouldn't do that.
And you wouldn't do it if you had like 1 year under your belt tattooing or anything like that. We inherited it, we kind of had to take it.
Yeah. I've heard it like in previous interviews that you've done, when you sort of started, tattooing felt really underground. And that's sort of like what drew you to it. What did underground tattooing look like in Melbourne?
There really wasn't much of it back then. Trev wasn't underground, but like Trev was the dude pretty much to go and see.
People wouldn't have sleeves back then though. Everyone got tattoos to be hidden, not to be shown. So yeah, I think that most people, like that was, you know, the tramp stamp era and, you know, and people wanted tattoos to here so that, you know, official could cover them.
No traditional tattoos, like
very
couldn't
few,
give them away virtually, you know.
When did the tide start to change when it came to traditional? Because I feel like it's...
Corey and Ralph and all those kind of hardcore kids.
Hardcore kids coming through, I guess being influenced by, you know, maybe New York musicians and stuff, are getting more sort of trad style tats.
Right.
H2O and...
Civ and Bouncing Souls and stuff.
Yeah, we just got all that, and we got a lot of touring sort of bands through. We used to tattoo people who worked in the music industry and stuff, who would like bring bands, you know, punk bands touring through.
It became clear through talking to Jane and Andrew that Melbourne's tattoo scene had been somewhat shaped by other subcultures, one of which being its growing hardcore movement. In order to get my head around how something like hardcore music could influence tattooing, I needed to speak to an expert. Dr. Paige Clemento is a lecturer at RMIT who spent her nights on stage and her days managing the floor at one of Melbourne's longest standing shops, Vic Market Tattoo. Dr. Paige literally wrote her thesis on how different subcultures like hardcore music shape and are shaped by tattooing, which makes her the exact person qualified to help me understand how it works.
What do you think has shaped tattooing most in terms of like other subcultures in Melbourne? Is that even a thing? Are there other like subcultures within Melbourne influencing tattooing?
Yeah, there's definitely some cross-pollination between music and tattooing. So Melbourne is considered the live music capital of the world, not just Australia, but the world, because there are more live music venues per capita than anywhere else.
Really?
So when you have, a shitload of musicians and venues, it sort of lends itself to the arts and to culture. So we can definitely see how there are so many tattooers and artists and all, like theatre people and musicians all sort of congregating together in Melbourne.
Well, on the subject of the connection between music and tattoos, you wrote a thesis on the connection between hardcore music and tattooing.
So we have hardcore music, which is like an extension of like punk. So it's a bit heavier, it's a bit faster. And there are a lot of people in the hardcore scene who have traditional tattoos. And when you kind of look at it, you're like, why does this heavy, chaotic punk like these tattoos that were favored by the military and sailors in America? But I think it can be drilled down to 3 or 4 key reasons. So if we think about the ethos of traditional tattooing, so back in the day when you were a sailor getting off your ship, you're like, okay, Sailor Jerry, I want this tattoo off the wall. You do it and you get out. Like, it's really fast. The point is about ease of reproduction, getting it done. We can then sort of see that in punk and hardcore band art. So stuff that is meant to be easily reproduced or bootlegged. Like, I could stick and poke the Black Flag logo. It's meant to be DIY and easy. Secondly, we can look at ideas of hypermasculinity and masculinity. So the military being a very hypermasculine space based on homosexuality and the brotherhood. It's the exact same as hardcore. Like, we're bonding over being bros. The third would be, I guess, the way that traditional tattoos are made. So you'll have to forgive me for speaking about tattooing. If we think about a trad tattoo, it's really clear, it's bold and deceptively simple, but so easy to get wrong. Like, if something is just a little bit off, the whole thing is garbage.
Yeah, for sure.
The same goes for hardcore music. Like, it seems very simple, but there are really clear outlines and boundaries of what you want to do with the music. And that kind of lends itself to the strong boldness of traditional tattooing.
So you think the people that tend to gravitate towards that kind of music typically gravitate towards that style of tattooing as well because of the sort of similarities between
there are
them?
these strange similarities that exist. So like subcultural theory back in the day was all about finding cultural coherence between things like music taste, like the way you dress, the drugs you take or don't take, like the places you hang out.
Yeah.
So it was originally done with hippies and biker boys. So like for the biker boys, they all wore like tough motorcycle leathers. They like rock and roll. They were really hyper masculine.
Yeah.
And you can just like link all these things together. And the point of a subculture is that you live it every day. So you're not just a goth on Tuesdays, you're a goth like 24/7, all the time.
Yeah.
It's clear that at the heart of Melbourne tattooing lies the importance of culture and community. Unfortunately for people starting out, not everything is so clear. We ended up hearing from Corey, who tells me that there's been an unexpected development in regard to his apprenticeship.
So a lot has happened, and unfortunately I lost my apprenticeship. Basically, my mentor just decided that he just didn't quite have the amount of time that he needed to train me properly.
What did that chat look like? What were you feeling in that moment?
It was hard. It was pretty devastating, to be honest. You finally get in a shop and it's kind of like you've won the golden ticket kind of thing. And then to have that taken away from you, it's like, okay, back to square one.
What was the conversation with your wife like, who was supporting you the whole way?
Yeah, she was pretty devastated for me because she knew the financial stress we're under and what we've sacrificed for me to be able to get an apprenticeship. To have that taken away is just devastating, you know. My oldest son actually came up and hugged me. He was kind of crying and going, oh, you're not going to be at the tattoo shop anymore, like it's so sad and all this stuff.
This setback hasn't deterred you at all? Like, you're still as motivated as you were the first time and second time you went for an apprenticeship?
Yeah, probably more so. Like, I'm at a point in my life where it sort of has to work for me because it's like, I don't want to go back to working in a factory. I don't want to do a regular job. I want to tattoo. So I'm spending a bit of time making sure a lot of my flash is a bit more updated to where my skill level currently is. I'm trying to update a lot of my flash into like hand-drawn, hand-painted.
Do you think it'll change the way that you apprentice the second time around?
I think I'll be a bit more wary that it's a potential that I could lose the apprenticeship. So I think I'll ask more questions relative to like how I'm going. Is there anything that I need to be improving on. I'll make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Right.
I'll come back stronger, I think. Yeah.
You gotta respect anyone willing to pick themselves up and dust themselves off like Corey. Tattooing can be brutal, and anyone willing to maintain that level of determination deserves credit simply for not abandoning hope. In 2025, the uncertainty rocking the industry is resulting in droves of people bowing out to find a more stable way of living. It's the harsh reality of oversaturation paired with a nationwide cost of living crisis. I met with my mate Mike T, the owner of Blue Lady, to hear his thoughts on what this means for shops that thrive on tourism and walk-in traffic.
The fact that you have to buzz in downstairs doesn't deter walk-ins at all.
It is tucked away, but people look for it. People do Google search, I guess, and I guess that's how a lot of them will find it. We get repeat walk-ins, so people will come back the next time they're in town. So they come and find it once, they get a tat, and then the next time they're in town for something, they bring friends.
Because they know that it's accessible enough where they can just show up and get tattooed. Or like most of the walk-ins that you get, people from out of town.
I would say predominantly, yeah.
And it's like they're in town for a gig or a sporting event or something, and they're just getting like souvenirs sort of thing.
Yeah. Country music stars, those fans love a walk-in tat.
Really?
Yeah. Iron Maiden, no one came in.
Really?
But like, I forget his name. He was like a famous kind of new country dude. We would have done 40 cowboy hats and cowboy boots over that weekend.
How many people are getting like their first tattoo as a walk-in?
Quite a lot.
Is it just the impulsiveness of, if I don't do it now, I'll never get it?
I guess so, and I guess it's that thing, like when you're on holiday, the rules don't apply. What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's that kind of mentality. It's like you're not at home, you're not working, you're here to have fun. Maybe you're seeing like your favorite musician play a show, or you're seeing like some sports match. You want to have this memory and encapsulate it forever, so that when you're like doing your Excel spreadsheet at work next week, you go, there, that was fucking sick. Yeah. Like when Taylor Swift was here, we had a lot of Swifties, had a lot of them come in. They were all getting something that was related to her, some little song lyric or quote or some little thing. They all had a bracelet. I would always leave full days where I wouldn't book stuff just so I knew I could handle walk-ins when they would come in.
You don't want to turn people away?
Don't want to turn people away, and I just think walk-in tattooing is a big part of tattooing. Like, yeah. For years I was only custom work. We just got busier and busier with walk-ins. That's a cool thing. For years, I just didn't book anything and I just did only walk-ins.
Are people like getting walk-ins and booking your flash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I've had a walk-in, first tat. He goes, I'm gonna walk in and if they have a parrot tattoo, I'm gonna get it. And he come in, he goes, have you got any parrot flash? I was like, yeah, I just painted this one. And he goes, I'll take it.
Sick.
I was like, how big? I was expecting him to get it like small, and he goes, yeah, I was thinking like elbow to shoulder. That was his first tat.
His first tattoo, and he went like that hard for his first one. Is that common?
Yeah, I get heaps of people coming in getting trad flash as their first tat.
So being in a walk-in shop, you're seeing trends probably more so than like private studios would. What's hot at the moment, what celebrity has, and people coming in to like get that.
When you're making a choice about a tat, it doesn't matter if you're picking Burt Grimm flash or something custom. You're getting something that makes you feel connected to something. A lot of people feel connected to their favorite band or singer or sports team. All the hardcore kids, they've all got similar tats. There's a feeling of community and connection in certain choices.
Yeah.
We've had a run where it's like, why the fuck is everyone picking this weird, like little fucking design and they're all getting it in the same place? And I'm just like, man, I bet you some singer's got it or something.
Yeah.
Or like David Beckham's got it or some shit, you know? Man, you know, didn't he have the wings on his back or something? Yeah. There was a run on that.
Such a dated reference. Yeah. Everyone that we've sort of spoken to so far is just kind of talking about the glory days of Melbourne tattooing, and almost as if it's sort of behind us in a way. Everyone's sort of attributing that to the fact that Melbourne's just so saturated with tattooers, and then there's just a constant influx every year of more and more people getting into tattooing.
I'm not sure if that has impacted as much as macroeconomic forces. In general, there's been a huge downturn in people with discretionary spend, which is due to the fact that the banks have raised the interest rates something like, whatever it was, 15 times in 24 months. So you've got people that used to have this mortgage payment, it's now this. Instead of going to Bali this year, they're not. And instead of getting a tap this year, they're not. There is more shops. When we opened, there was one other shop in the CBD, and now there's got to be 10.
Yeah, yeah.
There's one named after a vegetable down the road, for God's sake, you know.
Through time, you notice that tattooing has a way of like purging
Yeah.
And it has a way there's always new people joining, and then there's also people that are quitting left, right and centre. And so it sort of seems like this constant revolving door.
In the last 15 years, there's been quiet spells.
Yeah.
And then there's been busy spells.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be fucked for a little bit, and then it's gonna be fine.
Right.
You know, and hopefully a bunch of these fucking cunts fuck off and close down, you know?
I've learned a few things through making this documentary. I've learned that sometimes the thing that can make something great can be the very thing that may lead to its collapse. I've learned that change is inevitable, and we get to experience the way that tattooing warps over time. We'll see it grow, we'll see it shrink, we'll see it go through cycles and evolve into something that might feel unfamiliar to how we were first introduced to it. We need to be able to make the most of these things while they're here and not take them for granted. Opportunities, people, places, experiences. Nothing is promised and nothing is permanent, except for tattooing. Tattooing is here to stay.